Thank y'all for being here. Come on in, have a seat. I'm going to pray and we'll get started and we'll jump right in. And I appreciate you guys being here tonight. Lord, we love you. Thank you for the day and the opportunity that we have to explore opportunities to be your hands and feet and to proclaim the gospel in New York City. Lord, as we get information, we answer questions through this interest meeting. I pray for everybody who's considering being a part of this mission experience this year. Father, I pray that you would just help us to have wisdom to know if this is something that you want us to walk through. In Jesus' name, amen. You guys come on in, find a seat. Hey, in case you didn't hear this first part, we're recording this tonight. And we'll make this available to folks who couldn't be here but are still interested, and we'll post it online. So you should have this information sheet. I'll get into the details of this in a minute, but before we get into the nuts and bolts details of logistics and cost and all that, I want to pause and pan back and just make sure you understand where we're going, why we're going, who we're going to be coming alongside and serving, and that sort of thing, okay? So we are going to New York City, and we're going to come alongside New City Church. New City Church is a relatively new church plant. When I say relatively new, I think about 8 years old. And this is a church and a ministry that I've come alongside. I think this will probably be, by the time we get to the October trip, my 8th or so trip with New City Church, okay? We, as Calvary, went to New City Church and worked alongside these guys years ago. So I've got some context to help you guys along the way. New City is inside Queens. If you know anything about New York is made up of 5 different boroughs: Manhattan, the Bronx, Brooklyn, etc. Queens is the largest of the boroughs, and Queens is the most ethnically diverse county in the United States of America. Okay? It is a very broad and diverse county. Specifically, where they are located, though, you can see on the map, is in Long Island City. Let me tell you a little bit about Long Island City. It's the westernmost section of Queens. They are one subway stop from Grand Central Station in Manhattan. But they are in a neighborhood of 70,000 people. And what is just difficult for you and I to understand is how a neighborhood can be that concentrated of 70,000 people, because they build up, right? And they are the only Protestant evangelical church in that neighborhood. Understand that. There are 54 Southern Baptist churches in Muskogee County. Just Southern Baptist churches in Muskogee County, there are 54 of them. There's one Protestant evangelical church of any denomination in this one neighborhood of 70,000 people. So the light in the darkness is tremendous. Comparatively speaking, New York as a broad city is 97% unchurched. So it's a completely different culture, a completely different mindset, a completely different perspective on church, okay? And so therefore, when you go and you come alongside a church like New City, even how they approach church and how they do church is different. It feels different. Their approach has to be different. And so we come alongside and try to help them. So while you're there, here's some things that we'll get to do. Here's kind of a general overview of what a mission experience come alongside New City Church feels like. We're going to do two trips this year, okay? We're going to do a trip in June. We'll do a separate trip in October. I'm going to walk you through kind of what a general loose agenda for what the June trip looks like. We'll leave on a Saturday. we'll fly to New York. That'll be our travel day. We'll wake up Sunday and we'll go to church with them. This is a picture of their church service. They rent out an elementary school, and they have to, it's pop-up church. Hey guys, they set up all their gear, they have church, they tear it down. So we'll go to church with them on that Sunday, and immediately after the service, we will help them tear down all their stuff, load up all their gear, and there in the church, we will have basically an orientation where their staff will walk us through, hey, this is who we are, this is what the week is going to look like. And then we'll leave the church and we'll walk around their neighborhood doing some prayer walking. And this is a picture of a group. This was last summer, prayer walking through their neighborhood, just to give us perspective of what this neighborhood of 70,000 people looks like. Okay? And understand the strategic nature of what they do. And then our Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday will be our ministry days. One of the days we will come alongside and we will serve with them in their park. You need to understand, if you're driving through Columbus, Georgia and looking for a church, you see a billboard for the church, you see the physical church building, you say, oh, there's a church there. In New York City, there is no church building to see. Okay? The only way that people in that community even know that a church exists in that neighborhood is by seeing them physically present in their community. So they've got hundreds of these bright yellow vests that have their logo on the back. And if you've ever been in a largely urban context, everybody shares the same backyard. It's called a park. So you go into the neighborhood's backyard, which for them is a huge 17-acre park, and we serve. We pick up trash. We mulch. We landscape. We plant flowers. We whatever. So one day we'll be doing that kind of thing. And people, every time I go, somebody in the neighborhood will say, what are y'all doing? Who are you? Oh, well, we're with New City Church. You see this elementary school? We meet right there. And we basically just become the presence of New City Church in that neighborhood. Does it make sense? Mm-hmm. So that would be a day. Another day would be what they call narrative mapping. You and I might call that survey evangelism. Okay? Without her permission, this is a picture of Tennyson doing narrative mapping last summer in a park. And so basically what this looks like is this. So their vision long-term is to plant or partner with other English-speaking churches throughout this ethnically diverse county. But since churches are almost invisible, the only way you can know where churches are, even if they exist, is by going and talking to people. So we basically become their research and development team. So we will be assigned a neighborhood. One day we're doing the park. Another day we may go, hey, you guys go as a team to this park and just talk to people. And you're the clipboard survey guy, okay? Hi, Howard, do you live or work in the neighborhood? Awesome. Do you like the place? How do you feel? Lots of restaurants. Are there any churches around? No. Or, yeah, I think there's one that meets. Okay, do you go to that church? And we're just trying to investigate that neighborhood. And then that survey certainly does get to the end to say, well, do you go to that church? Oh, do you believe in Jesus? And if they're open to it, we flip that over and now we start to share the gospel with them. Okay. So if we do only page one of that survey and we just get demographic information for New City Church, it's a win. If we're able to turn that page over and have a gospel conversation with them, that's a win. Okay, you see that? So we're coming alongside. Here's another picture of Amy Brasher on a trip that she went on. Here she is. She's in the park in New York, and you can see the surveys in her left hand. But she's not. She's just naturally having a conversation. It's not like she's doing this. She kind of knows what she's trying to gauge. We've taught her through that. Does it make sense? Okay. And then another day on the trip, we will literally tour through Queens. Just understanding that ethnic diversity to catch the vision of their broad long-term scope. So it literally feels like you have toured the world in one afternoon. You get off at one subway stop, you're in Mexico, and all the food is Mexican, all the signs are in Spanish. You go 2 more subway stops, you're in Bangladesh. Everybody there is clearly from that country. All the signs take that country, and you go get Turkish coffee in the store. You go 3 more subway stops, you are in the real Chinatown. Okay, not the touristy one, but the real. It's mind-boggling, but it's a wonderful experience to see. Because I'll be honest and very upfront with you, my prayer is for us as we go these 2 times in 2020 that we as a church can come alongside and become a strategic partner with them, because they truly are reaching the nations. Okay? And while I would love to take you to China, and I will go to China and take you to China, and it may cost $5,000, I can also take you to New York City, and you can go to Flushing, which is also China, and it's much less expensive. Okay? Does it make sense? I hear you. Now, because of the way the culture of New York works, New City Church has found there's really it's not worth the time, energy, and effort to do any of these mission work in the morning commute or after dinner. Okay, because they're in too rapid pace. They're not willing or able to stop and talk to you. New Yorkers get a bad rap for being rude, but once you've tried to commute on the subway and you realize how little time you have to get transferred from one train to, you don't have time to stop and talk to somebody, or you're not going to make it to work on time. But if you find that person who's got that 15 minutes, who's sitting in the park, they're wonderful to talk with. They love to have conversations, and they're very kind and friendly, but not in the morning or evening commute. Okay? So our work will be between breakfast and dinner. Okay, we're not going to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning because there's no need. Okay, we will get up, have breakfast, and sometime in the 9 to 9:30, 10 range, we'll start serving, and we'll serve till 4:35, and we'll go back to the hotel and freshen up. And then we have the evenings to explore, where maybe we will walk through Central Park, or we may go to Little Italy and get a cannoli, or if you wanted to catch a Broadway play, you can do that, or you may be famous and run into Jay-Z along the way. Okay? So that's kind of the scope of what the trip looks like and how this thing works. Does it make sense? Okay. Let's walk through just some logistics of what travel, housing, and food and that sort of thing looks like. And that's where this sheet that you have in front of you, or if you're watching this online, it's a PDF on the same page that you can get this handout. Okay? So let's talk about travel. We will travel from Atlanta to LaGuardia. Okay? Right now, you can see on the sheet, we have a very favorable airline rate of $210 via Southwest. So our prices on this sheet right now are based upon that rate, that group rate. That is subject to change. Okay? Airline, between now when we price it till we actually book it, it could vary. So all these prices, that's a variable, but right now it's based upon that. But all this price is based off Atlanta to LaGuardia via Southwest Airlines. If you're looking at the June trip, we'll fly up on a Saturday, we will return on a Thursday. If you're looking at the October trip, it's a Friday to a Sunday. It's just a weekend. We'll get up early on a Friday, fly up, leave Sunday, come back. A very short trip, okay? We will be staying at the Hilton Garden Inn in Long Island City. This is a picture of the lobby so that you can see this is not a Roach Motel, nor is it a 5-star hotel, but it is a very nice, clean, current, modern hotel. Okay, Hilton Garden Inn, if you've ever stayed at one, all Hilton properties are somewhat consistent. I will tell you, if you've ever been to New York, you probably know this, unless you go 5-star, New York hotels by standard are smaller rooms. Okay? So it's going to be pretty compact, but that just is what it is. At this hotel, breakfast is not included. You can pay extra for it if you want, but we'll walk through the logistics of what food looked like in a minute based upon what we have budgeted. Okay? So That's the logistics of how we'll get there and where we'll stay. Now, let me draw your attention to this kind of spreadsheet that you can see how we've budgeted and priced this out so that you can be aware. You've got two grids in front of you. One is for the June trip. The other is for the October trip. Some of you may be considering one or the other, or you may be wanting to go to both. That's fine. So the airline price, you can see what that's based on. That is variable. The hotel, this is the biggest variable you can have, okay? Because if you want to go and you want to have a private room, that's the column that's one person to a room. And obviously, if I'm willing to break that up and share a room with people, that gets cheaper. Okay, so that's what those columns are trying to illustrate for you. And so that's a matter of, I know I really want my own room. That's fine. Or I'm willing to share a room but not share a bed. That's fine. That's 2 to a room. Or I'm willing to share a room and I got no problem sharing a bed with somebody to save the money. Okay, that's 3 or 4 to a room. So you can see how that scales when you go from left to right. The mission support, that is a per person fee, I use that word loosely. That's a per person contribution that we make to New City Church, because they will bring interns on staff to help for the summer, or there may be supplies that are needed to purchase. Maybe they're needing to replace vests, or even if they're not, it's just a gift to help them do what they're doing. Okay, so that's what that ministry support dollar is. The subway pass is that each person will will have an unlimited subway pass. It's just the cheaper way to do it, to buy a 7-day pass. But we will pay for those in advance. New City Church will mail those to us so that when we get off the plane in New York, it's already in hand and we're ready to go. Okay, that's what that subway pass is. And then another significant variable where your prices could depend is the meals. You can see how I've got this budgeted by day and by meal. You can easily eat and eat well in New York with this budget. You can also easily blow this budget big time in New York if you want to. But you can also, if you're creative, dramatically reduce this budget. And let me tell you how and why. 2 doors down from our hotel is a Dunkin' Donuts. This guy, every morning, I go to Dunkin' Donuts and my breakfast is $3. I get 2 wake-up wraps because they're $1 each and a cup of black coffee for $1. I'm in and out for $3 and I'm full. So I save money there. But, I could eat differently if I wanted to. But I'm giving you an example of what a daily breakfast, and right next door to the hotel is a small grocery store. So if you wanted to go there and just buy a box of granola bars, Pop-Tarts, and a case of water and just have them in your room and eat on those for the week, well, then your breakfast is probably going to average to be $2 a day. Or, if you want to get scrambled eggs and bacon every day, you can do that, but that's going to be more. But I'm just giving you a reference point. Most of the time, our lunches are going to be grab and go kind of lunch. It's pizza by the slice, or we're dipping into a grocery store and getting a box salad, or making a sandwich, or whatever, okay? So that $10, I would say, is a pretty conservative, doable number. Dinner for $20, again, you can get a hot dog on a street vendor for $3, or we could do a sit-down dinner and Ola Daly and I hey, let's split the lasagna. Yeah. You can do that too. So you can work together, you can get creative, but I'm just trying to give you what is a very manageable, realistic budget number to hit that's still enjoyable. Does that make sense? Okay? So you can see how those 2 different trips compare to each other and all the details that flow. So on the bottom, some of that text there, you're going to pay the church everything except for your food, because the church is going to pay in advance for your hotel. The church is going to pay in advance for your airline, your subway passes, so we have those in hand. And then you just hold back what you're doing for your food money. Does that make sense? So I've got a recommended, there's a keyword, recommended payment schedule. You don't have to do it that way. That deposit, though, I don't want to secure a plane ticket for you and you not take it. Okay, so I would say once you get to that $250 payment and we've bought your plane ticket and you decide not to go, well, I could cancel your hotel room, but I can't get the money back on that plane ticket. Does that make sense? That's only common sense. So you can kind of see what a suggested thing is there. Over to the right, additional information. Here's what I will do for everyone who commits. I'll create a private Facebook group, and I'll drop into that. Here's some training videos on, like, hey, if you want to pack light and go, this is what you should do. Or, hey, team, you're going to be walking 10 miles a day. So at this point in preparation, you might want to start hopping on the treadmill in the morning, And so I'll just kind of drop some things along the way that as a group can help you prepare. And then also occasionally New City Church will provide a video. Hey, this is what, understanding the people of New York. And if they do, we'll share those just to help you get ready mentally. Maybe there's some devotional thoughts along the way to help you prepare yourself spiritually. This budget does not include if you as an individual or we as a group decide to go watch Phantom of the Opera. Okay, that's not included in this. Okay. And as it gets closer, New City Church will give us an agenda, but I have never once in my life gone on a mission trip where the agenda that I had in advance was actually what happened. I mean, it just doesn't happen. So the key word of any mission experience is just be flexible. So we will have an agenda for those of you that need to know the plan, but just know the plan changes by the hour, okay? But we will have a plan, I promise you. And the rest is kind of general for you. So I think I've hit all the highlights and even kind of dug down into some details. What questions do you have? Take some time to answer any questions, then I'm going to give you an action step to wrap up.
I have a question.
All right, Sammy, go ahead.
What about bringing children?
Totally fine. So for example, last year I went with a young couple, had a baby in a stroller, and went with it. I mean, that's up to you. It's not a problem for anything that will be. Just know, that you'll have to kind of gauge, hey, we may need to get out of the sun for a little bit, because we are going to be outdoors most all the time. So, any of our planned activities are all outdoor activities. And just know that it's a lot of walking, but I have seen and helped do a stroller before.
Okay.
Not a problem.
Is it are we committed to flying with the group?
No, we're not committed to fly with the group. You may have, I'll throw this out there first, just also to consider. Can I pick on the Perry family?
Sure.
What if you said, you know what, hey, we're going to go, but we've got Sky Miles that we can do this, free or cheaper, and
Right.
we want to go 2 days earlier and or stay 3 days later and just make this vacation. Not a problem. I just need to know that so that we don't factor that in. And I would also add, if you wanted this, I could communicate to the hotel. I've got a block contract of hotels for these dates. But if I needed to say, hey, we've got one person that's want to add on 2 nights ahead or 2 nights afterwards or whatever, you can do that.
I just don't want to create.
Yeah, that's not a problem. Not a problem at all. I usually do that myself. We'll normally go up a night early because my girls are big Broadway fans.
Right.
So, but we won't do that this time. But my clan will be doing a Broadway show one night. So if anybody wants to do that, you're welcome to join. That's just one of our things. So, any other questions?
Since we will be outside, what's their average, is it 100 degrees like it is here?
No. New York in the summer is hot,
Yeah.
okay? But June is not as hot as July.
Okay.
In July, it's not uncommon for it to be mid-90s.
Okay.
But
We're in a park.
you're in a park close to the river, and so you're more likely to get a little breeze. A lot of sun, generally some breeze. Now, for those of you that may be considering the October trip rather than the June trip, October is obviously going to be cool, and I need you to understand the flow and purpose of the October trip is very different than June. Let me explain. Because of the relationship that New City Church has, and the favor that they have in the city allows them to use this park for a church event. They are the only faith-based organization that the park allows to use, which is awesome. That just shows the favor and the relationship that they have. So their big annual community outreach is they do a big fall festival. Just imagine what you and I would think: fair style, booths, games, costumes, candy. What you would think stereotypical fall festival in the South, that's what they do in the park. And they have as many churches as they can get to come and actually put on the fall festival. So we will come up with a booth. We'll decide what that booth is. We'll ship all the supplies that we need to create our booth in advance so it's there. We'll go up on Friday. We'll have orientation with all the other churches that are there. We'll wake up Saturday, canvass the neighborhood with flyers, inviting people. We'll set up the fall festival. We'll run the event. We'll help them clean it up, and then we'll fly out. So that's the concentrated intentionality of that weekend. We're going to help them with that fall festival event. So that one is pick a fun costume to wear. We're going to do kids ministry that weekend and running a fall festival.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, it'll be fun. But that will be cold.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, you may walk out of here and come up with a question, or you may have a question and not feel comfortable asking it. On the paper is my cell phone number and my email address. Call me. Here's the action step I would appreciate from you. On the bottom left side of the paper, you see a URL. Or if you don't want to type that in, if you just go to the website and scroll to the bottom where it says the big graphic, just like that's on the screen, New York, and you click that, it'll take you there, okay? On that page, there is a button that says, "Are you interested?" Question mark. If you click that and say, "Yes, I'm interested in this trip," fill that out for me. That is not you committing. That is not you making a deposit. All that is you saying, "Here's my name. I'm interested in June or October or both. Here's my t-shirt size, and this is my room preference." Okay? That is an interest submission. That is not a commitment. But that'll at least help me filter out who I need to start talking to with details and nuts and bolts. Okay? So if you could communicate, if you are interested, fill that form. That'll help, and don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions. All right? I appreciate you guys coming. Have a great night.
Thank you.